The Season 3 episodes for Freelance Creative Exchange are recorded on Audio-Technica microphones.
Click on the show notes below to find out more.
Hi everyone, I'm Fanny.
Hi, I'm Yin-Ling.
And this is the Freelance Creative Exchange, a podcast about freelancing and the gig economy.
Today we're going to talk about, as a freelancer, how do you diversify your revenue streams and your income streams? And we have a very interesting guest with us today, Sean.
So Sean has multiple income streams. So he's a freelance director, scriptwriter and producer for television shows.
Primarily,
as well as for corporate videos and commercials for more than 13 years. Besides that, he also invests in a few small businesses and an adjunct lecturer at various tertiary institutions. He also runs a stock market and economy blog called The Amateur Trader.
So, long story short, he's actually the perfect person for us to be speaking about diversifying your revenue streams and your income, as well as your skill sets also. Because I think a lot of people have this notion that if I want to be good at something, I have to, focus on it and always just do that and perfect my craft. But what is your take on that, Sean?
I think that first and foremost, it's possible to have more than one interest. No, I mean, your hobbies also you can consider an interest. But the point is that I think gone are the days whereby you can just do one job and hold it for like 30, 40 years and then retire in it. And I don't think those days have happened anymore. Whether by sometimes it's by circumstances. Sometimes it's just, especially in the gig economy, that's just the way, that's just the new normal now. Like everybody works on term contracts or by project. And so because of that reason, and I personally, even though I've been doing this for so many years, haven't really felt very stable. Even if I've been doing like a whole project for one whole year and I completely loved it, I just don't feel that stability anymore. It also doesn't help that I know most freelancers, and myself included, that don't get CPF as well. So, I therefore got very from very, very early on when I was working when I started my career, very, very early on I was looking at other interests and prioritizing diversification. It became more serious to me that I needed to diversify after I started having kids. Because then that's when I'm no longer thinking about, okay, I know as a freelancer, especially as a director, is all well and good this year. Next year is going to be the same. Next year is going to be the same. I'm no longer thinking 5 years. I'm thinking 25, 30 years in advance. Because not only am I thinking about, you've got to think of how to bring them up. I got to think also eventually I've got to retire and then all funds and all this, and there's only a limited time. So I've always believed in as much as you work for your money, you should try to make as much as you can your money to work for you. And right now, while I'm still reasonably young, of course I'm not that young, but compared to you, but I'm reasonably young. I think I rather do it now than later. If I make mistakes along the way, I rather make it now than when I'm 45 or 50, and that's when it's really going to hurt more.
Yeah.
So definitely, I always prioritized diversification. I've always encouraged it. I've always picked up other interests that and some along the way, my hobbies ended up becoming maybe a passive income stream, and great.
So how do you get yourself into stocks? Specifically per se, how do you learn about the subject?
Okay, I think stocks. They're very simple. I won't call it misconception. The very simple thinking about it is that, okay, I buy a stock low, I sell it high. I would say there's actually more interesting story to that, and that's partly because when you worked in the media, you do a lot of research, you do work on a lot of genres, documentaries or dramas, but you always want to care about the story. Stock market tells you a lot of story about how the economy is going, about how the world is going, because it really, especially now, I take it further from Singapore, but if you look at the global markets, the way that how a stock market behaves tells you a lot about what's going on around the world today. So sometimes people would say, for example, if you look at it now, and you look at the situation with this pandemic going on, one story tells you downstairs, okay, everybody's going to go buy toilet paper at Sheng Siong, and everybody's going to go buy, and everybody is wiped out the supermarket shelves. What it doesn't tell you is that the next morning, what happens that the Sheng Siong stocks actually on the market shoots up like 5%. No one has seen that. And the top glove, for example, the rubber latex or something, shot up 100%. Like around 100% is a ridiculous amount in one day, and then it dropped back down. So it shows you that. So my point is not that if you go buy a Sheng Siong stock or a top glove stock, and anyway, it's too late. It's dropped back down so low. But the point is, you see, it reacts to what goes on around the world, and I think that there's an inference that you can draw. So what goes on, it tells you really not just the numbers and the maths per se, but it really tells you, if you by inference, by implication, it tells you a lot more about really what's going on around us.
So this story and the technical aspect of investing aside, how did you get started into it, or what motivated you to look into stocks? I mean, as you said, any hobby can become a potential money maker, but why stocks? Why for you? And I mean, we all talk about investing. I've been talking about investing for longest time, but I haven't actually put any money into it. So what made you make that first move as well? Yeah.
Okay, I started out. No, okay. Just as to clarify first, I'm not saying that I'm very rich from stocks. I'm not saying that I have a lot of money in stocks. I'm not saying that I'm an expert, but I'm not. In fact, I'm not even trained. It's through years of trying and all that. But I did start out. It started out for me as a hobby. Well, it's a hobby that it's a hobby that costs money because you actually have to put money in, take positions. But I actually started out really early in 2000, in the 2000s, early 2000s. So that was maybe around the time when I was in school. Along the way, so because you do what we are familiar with, right? You don't buy things that you don't know. So I started out just looking at Singapore markets. I'd be like, okay, so we all know our companies, and then I looked at them on the stocks, and then of course I had of course friends who also did that. So we so it started off as that, just reading up on it, taking some positions, locking in profit, and then leaving. And then of course, as I said, because along the way it got more I got more interested in it through various reasons, and then I went into look into other products and other markets besides our Singapore market.
I mean, if there are any freelancers out there who is interested, in taking out this hobby as well, what are your advice to them first starting out?
Specifically on stocks?
Yeah.
Couple of things. I think first is you have to realize that even though we're in Singapore, and we know our companies really well on the STI and all that, you first have to know how the stock works. Stocks prices are, well, firstly, it never shoots all the way up like that. It's impossible. It's more like this. But in the long run, I'm saying in general, I'm not naming any stock, but in the long run, it goes like this. Yeah, but it still goes all the way up like that. If you go over, look at it, the best example is I look at it from maybe a stock from 10 years ago to today. Most of them have gone up this way, even though there was this in a way. There was this movement. So the point is that firstly, you should you should be able to take that stress. If you see a stock going down, of course there are stocks that really go all the way down this way as well. I'm not saying there isn't. So, but the point is that you have to be prepared for that. That's the first thing. Second thing is that you have to know what you're doing. You need to have the discipline in what you're doing. Don't go out there and buy something because I like it. I like the company, or something. Go ahead, you can like the company, but do you actually want to put money into it? Or do you not like the company, but yet you still want to put money because you know that there is growth? So the point is that you really have to know what you're doing. You have to read a lot. I read a lot. Of course, you have to discern as well, because if you just read and believe everything, then you know that they should be buying all 400 and 500 stocks and own it. That's not possible as well. But most importantly, I think as freelancers, and because of our unique situation whereby most of us do not have a regular paycheck, CPF, or that, you need to know your budget. Every time I have this amount, I always allocate a bit to, this is going to maybe an investment, this is going to I'm not into living expenses, into so on and so forth. You have, and stick with it. I don't believe that if I have this amount, I should just go into the bank and collect that interest rate, or into an FD and collect interest rate, I don't think that's very smart, because I believe in letting your money work for you. I believe that, okay, so I allocate this amount and I put it in. Do not put in money that you don't have first. Do not put in money that you think that is going to be based on future projected earnings, especially for us, because a lot of the work that we do is based on things like pitches, proposals, pitches. We go and pitch. We hope that we get it, and we, I feel so confident. I'm going to get it too, but you don't. and that kind of, and do not put it based on a check that or not a check, but something you think like, payment in 30 days. So I'm going to get this money coming in 30 days. I'm going to use it, but it turns out that the 30 days comes 90, and then so my point is, please don't sabo yourself. Okay, don't use money that you don't have. Don't use money that you think you're going to have. No projected money. Don't use money that you're not prepared to lose. Because that's very important as well. Because I'm not, and I admit, so I've maybe lost too much. Well, lost more than I should have, but I have lost money before. But of course, thankfully I'm okay. But know what you're doing. Be prepared. Know that if I lose this amount, I'm not going to sabo myself. I'm not going to be bankrupt. I'm not going to. At most, I can maybe cry away for an hour. Then I'm going to continue. but it's that sort of resolve you need, Yeah, and the guts you need in a way.
Speaking of which, what do you think, or is there a biggest mistake during this whole journey of diversifying, or even more specifically in your investing journey, that you wish you never had made?
Okay, stocks is a bit unique in a sense, because it doesn't really have to do with people. It's quite emotionless. So as far as businesses are concerned, I've maybe done business with people that I wish that I really, in hindsight, I wish I known them better before I did it. But specifically back to markets and all that, I think mistakes that I've made is, again, what I was saying, like you putting in, your strategy was not really there. Of course, people will tell you, okay, let's do this Warren Buffett style. Let's buy this and hold it for 30 years. And it's going to go up. That's not, well, I learned that doesn't always happen. So you have to really be, you have to know what you're doing. You have to know what you're buying. You need to know the potential of something, because, the world changes a lot. I mean, there's always new tech and there's old tech companies, and a lot of the old tech companies now, if you look at maybe like companies that do printing, traditional printing like Xerox, for example, their room for growth isn't there anymore. Correct. So you know that at some point it's just going to go down. It's no longer going to keep shooting up this way. That I came up with this idea that if I buy something, I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to hold it. No, you have to know there has to be an exit point. Maybe when I've reached this amount of loss, I stop loss and just move on. Or I made this amount of profit, I'm going to just, thank you, take off the table and just take it. Because I've just had friends who, for example, showed me, I bought this at $15, but today's at $2, and I wish I sold it. Of course they didn't, but they wouldn't have known that it's going to go $2. Yeah. But that's because they didn't have that strategy that, okay, if this doesn't work out, let's say at like $10 or something, let's just get out and go. And or same thing with now people say like, I bought this at 200, it's 300, I didn't sell it, but now it's like 220, I lost it. Theoretically, it didn't lose $80 lah. But you could have made 80 more lah. But so the point is that it's about, that's what you have to stay nimble. So I think that's the word I'll use. So that's something I've learned as well. I wish I learned it earlier. Being nimble.
Is it always true that the best time to invest is when the market is down? Or during recession?
Yes and no. First thing you have to understand is that when something is cheap, and I think even as freelancers you should know also, because when it comes to rates, when you there's always somebody cheaper than you. I always say that. So I never fight on price for myself as a freelancer. Somebody, I would do this for this price. I can, at some point somebody's going to do it cheaper than me. Good luck to you. Same goes for the stocks. And other finance and even currencies and so on, whatever product you're looking at, cheap can go cheaper. So the gist is that yes, the market is down. Yes, but no, you shouldn't be thinking that I'm going to buy a stock because it's already so cheap. You need to buy the product, be it a stock or currency, because it's a price you're comfortable with. Such that, for example, if you look at this stock today, for example, it's $100, and then it went down, and because of this financial crisis, it's now 80. So two things you can do. You can either say, I'm going to wait until it's 60, then I buy it, and then 60 never comes, and then you never get it. In which case, I would say, good for you. There's also discipline. You still kept money in your pocket. Or you're gonna go, okay, 80 is fine. I think it's a gift. If it goes to 75, I'm not gonna cry. If it goes to 85, 90, I'm gonna sell it and just take the money and move on. I think that is the way forward in a volatile time like that. I think also you have to know what you're doing. You don't personally, for me, if I were to buy anything right now in this market, my first advice is please nibble and don't chomp. By that I mean, look, if I have this budget, I want to buy this particular counter, I'm not going to put all my money into it right now because you don't know what's going to happen. I would maybe put a little bit and go in slowly. I think it's a good time to buy, yes. If you base on statistics, because I mean, again, I'm quite, my idea of fun is also following graphs and charting. So if you just go based on charting, it is a good time to buy. I think a lot of the counters are back to end of 2018 levels. If you know, I speak specifically on the American market here. If you all know, 2019 was like record. Well, it went nowhere for a while, but in the last quarter, especially after phase 1 of the trade deal was signed, it just started breaking records all the way until Chinese New Year. It's like I don't know, complacency maybe, but now it's gone way back to 1.8 level. So I'm thinking that it's a good time. Based on today, it's a good time to do it, but please nibble. And please know what you're doing, because there are really a lot of guys a lot of companies out there, a lot of industries out there, especially with this pandemic, that's just going to get worse. And they're not, and it's very optimistic to say like, it's going to be done in like 2-3 months, and then life will be back to normal, because we have to know the difference. It's not a financial crisis. It's a biological crisis. It's a pandemic. That's the difference between 2008 and now. Whatever worked in 2008, I'm going to put money, do share buybacks, put back money, low interest rates and all this. It's going to work to a certain extent, but what's going to happen, I think especially, and it's starting again in Singapore, because we are on our second wave of, I think we are getting a second wave of interest of the virus. What's going to happen is that there's going to be a lot more negative headlines coming up. Yeah. You don't need to be a genius to know that, because why is that? Because there's a lot of more testing that's going to be done, right? So as more negative headlines come up, the reaction is going to be, again, very volatile, right?
Yep.
Until it reaches a point whereby these negative headlines no longer affect the volatility, whether maybe it's bad news fatigue, or if you want to call it that way, then that is when we will hit the bottom. And so we are not there yet. So if I sell it based on today's date, if you buy anything, you can. It's a good range, but expect that it's going to go down, or expect that it's going to get worse. And if it gets worse, you need to have the stomach for it, and you're not gonna think it's the end of the world. Anyway, the end of the world only comes once. So or if it goes up and it goes green, better just be contented and don't be greedy.
Yeah. You spend a lot of time reading about the markets and of course observing what happens all around the world. This is just everyday life. But how much time of your life, of your everyday life, do you actually put into this financial investing and marketing? I think that's what a lot of people want to know as well, because there are two types. They say there's two types of investors, right? One who watches the screen every day, and if you have another job or two at the side, this is not very practical. I think this is what stops a lot of people from jumping in and trying it out. And then there's the type who just puts money in and then not care about it for the next 20 years.
Okay. Let me break that down. I do your second one first. So are there things that I put and keep for the next 20 years? The answer is yes. This is my core positions. Right now, my core positions is a bit out of whack because of the situation. But under normal circumstances, I have a core position. Because these are what I call the growth stocks and the value investing, and these are things that I know that I mean, you know that there's that unless the world ends, and if these companies crumble for whatever reason, this is the least of your problems because there's really something wrong with the world. So that I have. I don't have many now because of the situation. I've trimmed a bit. I would say in fact I did the discipline thing and I trimmed half and I kept half of them. So that is the second category. The first category is, I would say that there's a do I look at the screen every day? All the answer is no. I look at it 4 times a day for 5 minutes. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you when. Because because I keep following the charts, right? You know when there are going to be the movements.
Okay.
Of one or another. Using the example in the US market, I would say that 5 minutes after the market opens, I'll look at it. Pre-market doesn't concern me. I don't have access to pre-market. 5 minutes, when it stabilizes, you can roughly tell what's going on. I look at it at midday again, at around lunch. Okay, so then maybe if I am still awake and for some reason at like 4 a.m, I'll go look at it then half an hour before it closes, because that kind of tells you whether tomorrow is going to what's going to happen. Indication for the next day. Okay. And the same applies to Singapore. I would say that if you look at or other Asian markets, if you notice, nothing. Well, there are movements that happen between lunch and the closing, but the only big change is really towards the end. That's when the point where for whatever reason, people decide to put more money into it today, or take my money out, or a sell off or a buy in or something. They don't happen. You don't have. I mean, it's.
They usually wait until
it's
the
usually,
end of the day.
it's usually at these times. I shouldn't be saying this. I mean, I shouldn't be doing this, but I also would say that sometimes when I just sit around and wait on set and people are setting lights up, like, oh yeah, let's see. Because here's the thing, nowadays, and this is new tech again, everything is all on apps.
Yeah,
everything is on the phone.
On your mobile phone.
And so rather than and sometimes because I'm waiting for things to happen, cast to come lights to set and all this. Then it's like, rather than open your rather people like to maybe chat, open up their Instagram or maybe, but the habit is a habit. I open up and check my graphs. it's just something. Maybe I do it too often, but I shouldn't be saying that because I sound distracted. But it's just something that it's become second nature to me lah.
So, in your opinion, when you're looking for a stock to buy, what are you looking at before you pump your money inside?
Personally, this is not a time for you to I like this stock, I like that stock anymore. I think not in the current situation, but under normal times, what I look for is, number one, what does the company really do? Like I said it, we talked about it earlier. You shouldn't be only good at doing one thing. That's the same criteria I put for stock. I do not like stocks, for example, in companies that are very good in just one singular thing, because the potential for growth is very limited. So, for example, if you were to come to say to me, okay, would I go and buy a stock in Macy's, for example, using the American, my answer is no, because it's a retail store. You people go in there and you buy shirts maybe. I would tell you that on a retail store, what I'll do is that instead I'll go buy a stock in Home Depot, HD code. Why? Is because they don't just sell one thing. They sell groceries, they sell electronics, they sell online, and so on. And so, to another example, you give me a name, let's say, do I want to buy a stock in Xerox? No, I won't, because it's old tech. It's just going to it sells you printers. But I would tell you to please go out there tomorrow and go get a stock. No, not literally, but I will go out there and say I will go. But I'll like Microsoft, I'll like Apple, why? It's because they don't just do one thing. Yeah, you think that okay, I'm using Apple phone. Yeah, great. I'm using earbuds. Great. So, but you forget that there's a difference between AirPods. Yeah, AirPods is one. The iPhone, you may think are the same, but they're all connected. They're not, because one is under tech, one's under wearables. Now, if you look again, because I look at earnings release, I know that it's impossible for every company to have everything just very sweet. Every division makes a lot of money. Yeah. No, there's always better performing things. If you look at one quarter, the wearables for Apple, at least using some of the earpods just went up this way, but the phones went down. So even though people say, I don't like this phone, it's not as good as the other one, I don't want to buy this phone, they were still making a lot revenue from the other things they're doing. They make from their watches, they make from their iPods. So I would say that going forward, same principle. I like companies. Of course, you go find it yourself. I'm not gonna. Otherwise, I can go on and on. I like companies that are good in more than one thing. They have more than one good business division. I think it's pretty obvious as well. You would know at this time, Amazon, the Googles, these things that are not only producing software, they're also producing hardware. Google in the sense is hardware if you think about it from Android. They are doing streaming. They are doing a lot of experiential kind of services, like like they give you with satellites or theme parks or and movies and all that. That's one thing I do, and the second thing that I do, whether I decide whether I like a stock or not, is I always tell myself. And this is why I would really encourage that we look beyond Singapore as well. Even though that there's a recession, what do you know that will not be affected? Of course, everybody's affected across the board. That's in general. But at the end of the day, what can still stand the test? Are you going to, for example, go out and say like, okay, because there's a recession, I will no longer watch any more Mickey Mouse. I'm not going to watch any more Frozen 2. I'm not going to watch any more Avengers. No, you're not. You're still going to go to Disney. Are you going to go and say, I'm not going to drink any more Coca-Cola? Because that's not going to happen. So these are companies. So you look around, be observant, look around at things that you see people are using, people are still doing, even though the world seems to have gone to hell. But and you know that these are the guys that's going to recover. But you cannot say, and because so I would say that these are companies that I'll look at. And then the third thing that I'll do is things for the future. Because you know that when the dust settles for this, and the world's going to continue moving on, we're still going to go into what we planned at first, which is maybe 5G or wireless payments and all that. These things are all going to come back again when the dust settles. And so these are things that I'll do. This is like my criteria for stocks that I choose. Do not go and do things. Of course, everybody says, yeah, perfect, let's go buy Clorox now because everybody's gone mad and buying all the sanitizers, or let's go buy. But I would say, that's not something you're gonna. That's maybe at the most a couple of weeks and a month. But is it gonna happen next year? Is it still gonna be this level? I don't think so. Yeah. So please be realistic. Please know. Please as well. I mean, be reactive to the situation. But most importantly, I think it's important to know. When the dust settles on all this volatility and all this, and when more stability and more clarity is gotten, what are we still going to be using? What are we still going to be eating? What sectors are still going to be relevant? And I think that is something. So I would say that even as a start, even if you have today, if you told me I don't buy any counters. What counter should I buy? I'm not going to tell you go and buy this one or that one. I ask you go out there and see what are people doing. What is still crowded? Is Starbucks still crowded? Yes. Is McDonald's people still using? Yes. And are people still using Netflix? Yes, they are. These are the things that you should be looking at, and these are things and that's how you can narrow your research, because it's impossible to research everything. There's thousands of counters of stocks out there all over the world. What do I buy? And of course we have to read the news. You will not want to buy oil, for example, today. That's kind of unless you really want to make a bet that's going to improve tomorrow anytime soon. But you have to set that goal as well. If it's I would buy oil today. I was telling you if I have a longer term goal. But if I did it with the intention of making profit by Monday, then no, I wouldn't touch oil. Yeah.
So I mean, if somebody's asked, who are you? So are you firstly a director?
Yes.
Or are you firstly a trader?
No, I'm not. Firstly, I'm not a trader. I would not. I'll be lying to say I am not. I mean, I'm nowhere near that level. But firstly, yes. But of course, primarily I'm a director. I'll actually, let me rephrase that. Primarily, I'm a dad. That's my favorite job right now. But when it comes to definitely I'm more of a director first. That's where I got my capital, and that's where I worked hard for that capital, and that's when I got that to go to work. And then because of that, but again also because we are freelancers, right? You can't be possibly, you would be very fortunate if you're directing 300 days a year of 365. So what do I do on my downtime? Like, I mean, I know there are months, especially now, when you find that there are months where I don't really have that many jobs. I'm not going to sit around and become a hermit. I'm just going to, that's when I start to do on that side. And then it's again about diversification, right? You need to have more than one interest, more than one stream. So at what's different points of concentration, I'm concentrating on different, on a different aspect. So perhaps now I'll say that if this is your thing, you're really into markets and all this, and maybe this is the time that you might want to spend a bit more. Well, this is the time you want to spend more concentration in it than on your jobs, because it's just based on volume. Yeah.
Moving away from the financial side of it, let's talk about the lifestyle side of it. You said yourself you're a dad, you're a director, you trade stocks, you also are an adjunct lecturer. So just hearing this itself sounds like a mouthful. How do you juggle this every day? In your everyday life, what's your week like?
Oh, I don't sleep. So what do you want to know?
So how do you have that mental space or even that physical strength to do so many do so many of these things?
I think firstly it's discipline. It's discipline for sure, because it's about discipline. I mean, it really is. Firstly, you and I think it's something that I again, it's a transferable skill that I've picked up across, whether it's media, whether it's or going on shoot, whether it's buying a stock. It's if you decide that you're going to do something, and you set and I have that goal in mind, I'm just going to keep working at it until I get there. So so if I want to base it on shoot, for example, is that I want to get this specific kind of treatment to it. I can maybe. I really want to go. I will go all out for it. Maybe I can be a bit flexible. Okay, maybe this is just not possible for whatever reason. Let's just make the best of it. Let's just make it better. When it comes to a stock as well, I would know the difference between something that I'm going to hold very long time, for years. I know something I'm going to hold for a week, and if it doesn't work out for a week, I'm out. If it achieves the goal that I need in 2 days instead of a week, I'm going to get out in 2 days as well. I'm not going to be stubborn about it. So my point is, I think one of the things is, other than is discipline. I think it's also being flexible within as well, and to an extent, and you just need to keep that and keep yourself to that routine. So my week goes, every morning pretty much is chaos, because you have two yelling kids. After you settle down your two yelling kids, then you I don't know, that is a bit rubber band time, because it's a baby and a 2-year-old, so they do what they want when they want.
You can see Penny's look of like
and then about this is assuming that I don't have a shoot. If I have a shoot, I'll be like, I'm out of the door by 6. So good luck. But let's just say if I don't have any shoot or anything, if it's a regular day, then I will. As I said, there's only the 4 tranches of time when you look at the market. For me at least, so I check in on that. Do I decide to do something or not? I would probably have made a decision the day before, or the days before, to tell myself, okay, if it reaches this level, I'm going in. So your
goals have already been set, and
yes,
you're just waiting for that point.
Yes. And then normally, I would say then you get a bit of if you're fortunate and your kids get to nap. My kids, that's a bit hit and miss. Sometimes she doesn't nap. then you have your hour change. You have a couple of hours there change, and then of course but you have your set schedule, and you know what you're doing at that certain time. Okay. Which again, and because I said flexible, is because as you come to learn with that, once you start to deal with 2-year-olds.
So with the current COVID-19 situation that has impacted a lot of the freelancers in the media sector, what advice do you have for them with regards to their finances?
Couple of things. I would think I would say the first thing is that a lot of people now are, I wouldn't just say it's our media sector, but in general, a lot of gig economy workers. Yeah. They are saying, okay, my job's been postponed, my job's been cancelled. That's the first thing they say. The second thing that they will say is, never mind, when this tides over in like maybe May, or the jobs are going to come back. I'll say, get real. It's not going to happen. Why? First is that this is it's a biological pandemic. It's going to get worse. It's not going to, until the numbers are going to go up, unless there's a vaccine. Even if a vaccine is done today, it's not going to be solved tomorrow. It's not going to be solved. This is not going to be solved tomorrow. This is not going to be solved next week. It's not going to be solved next month. So get that idea out of your head. This is not going to go away anytime soon. The second thing that they'll say is that, when it goes away, all my jobs that have been postponed is going to come back, rescheduled, and it's going to come back. I'll say no. The ship has sailed. Why? Because all these job projects, wherever it may be, whether it's a campaign, whether it's a corporate video, whether it's a very one big, I guess, whatever it may be, the goalposts have all changed.
Yeah.
Companies now are going to, because they have been so hit, especially on many sectors have been so hit, their priorities are no longer that campaign that I was supposed to do in February that I postponed. So we moved on. And unfortunately, the reality for our media sector is that at the end of the day, we are really not going to be one of their main concerns. I mean, they would rather redistribute their money to other business units that maybe have more upside potential, for example, or more immediate revenue generation, rather than some campaign that I may see that returns.
Corporate video they might need.
So I think let's just get real and realize that that's not going to happen. So I'm not to say that I've diversified, so I don't have the problem. I'm also getting it as well in certain areas, in certain stuff, because I've also been cancelled, and it's not nice. So I know that's not nice. So so I think you first have to accept that reality. This is not. So I would say that what you should be doing now is, back to your earlier question, is this a time to put my money to work? And if you can afford it, if you have the budget for it, I'll say this as good as it gets. This is not going to. Big reason why I'm saying that is because, especially with regards to the markets, this is transient. It's not. It's going to maybe stick with us for maybe 12 months, end of the year. I've heard people saying we have to learn how to live with it, but at the end of the day, it's still transient. And at some point, we are going to get very fatigued by all this negativity going on, all these negative headlines. Today the numbers have gone up. At some point, all of us, and not just saying gig economy workers, but the entire, just the world in general, is going to get very fatigued by all these negative headlines, and it no longer will matter. And when it no longer matters, that's when stability, we've reached a point of stability, and that's when we can start to improve. But do not expect a V-shaped improvement either, because if you go economics, because while as we've seen ourselves in Asia, we've got the situation under control, and then the West started it, and then we're starting to go to decline again, because it's, firstly the pandemic doesn't care about geography, and it also affects the supply and demand. As you know, your customers or your companies, they're buying. They're buying from Europe, for example. If those China companies, for example, rely a lot on Europe, they're buying in. That's not going to happen anymore. And same, so even though that one economy can get them act together and start to kickstart, the rest of the places, the gears are not going to be on the same level. So that's the difference between what I think this situation we're having, and maybe what we saw in 1997 or in 2008, when it was a bit more straightforward. But what I would say, that's why I would say that at this stage, just get real. You know that it's probably you have to start thinking about something else besides what you're doing, because. Well, of course, I hope you get your jobs back, but I assume that it's gone, and try to move on if you can. And if you have some budget, just put it to work for you. Yeah. I think that because we are all freelancers and we're gig economy workers, right? And it's a life that we chose for whatever reason. Maybe we like the lifestyle. Maybe we think there's more creativity. Personally, because for me, it's just that it's a lot more creative. I think that because I was a freelancer and not tied to any one place, I got to experience a lot of different genres of things that I do. So I do commercials, I do drama, I do docus, I do reality shows. If I wasn't a freelancer, I would say that I would spend a lot of time maybe just only doing one drama or one. So yeah, maybe good and bad. The bad thing is I'm not a specialist drama director now and then I can go out there and do some great feature film and win an award. The good news is that I've done everything as well. I've experienced everything. You can throw me into any production today and I can swim. I wouldn't drown. So, but my not to say again that I'm very smart, but the point is that we have chosen this life. We have chosen this lifestyle. This has happened. This COVID situation has happened. And now everybody's sitting on there and saying, oh dear, I don't have... But you chose this job. You have to get real. This is the reality. This is what we have paid. This is what we signed up for. So there's no point sitting around here and moaning and go like, oh, everyone's cancelled. What do I do? Should I go like become a Lala Move driver or whatever? The point is, look, you signed up for it, man.
So instead of drowning, you just have to learn how to ride the wave.
Yes,
along.
You have to. At some point, you either know that this is the deal. You become a freelancer. It's not a good deal at this point. It's a bad situation, of course. But then again, you don't. But what's the use of sitting on here and complaining about it? Do something about it. Pivot, and do something about it. Pivot if you must. Do something about it temporarily if you must. Yeah. And of course, and that is all about staying nimble. It's again, back. It's what I was saying earlier. Being flexible and staying a bit nimble.
Be like Sean.
We don't want to do that.
Be like water.
No, but I really believe that it's important to be flexible. I mean, it's unrealistic to think that this is a job that I'm doing, and for the next 30 years I'm going to do nothing else. I don't think it's realistic anymore. Maybe it would have applied
20, 30 years
with your parents' generation, maybe. Or if you were really, really specialist, like if you were like a surgeon or something like that. But I don't think that especially for our industry, I don't think that's realistic to think that way anymore.
Yeah, I think, but I think it's not only for gig economists, gig professionals, or freelancers. I think it's now a lot of industries are really feeling it as well. They suddenly the industries hit so bad, and then we see a upcoming recession coming on. I think it's just very important for everyone in their career to consider this, what they're gonna do when something like this hits. Yeah.
And but please don't sabo yourself and go and commit like I'm going to put all my money now into the stock market and hope that it's going to jump up Warren Buffett style. You don't know when it's going to end. And so please do not sabo yourself and overcommit yourself.
Okay, so we will ask you the final question, which we ask all our guests. If you can give one piece of advice to your younger self when you were first starting out, what would that be? As a freelancer.
Start earlier. I should have diversified a lot. I should have paid a lot more. I should have been a lot more interested in diversifying earlier. I've diversified my interests earlier. I think I started out a bit stubborn. I wasn't too. I was very goal orientated. It's okay, I'm going to go and only do, be director and do production and TV and I'm going to do it until I'm 60. I think I should have realized that it no longer is possible earlier. Okay. For whatever reason. We don't have to say that. You can list a lot. That I would have done that. Start earlier. I think, and accept that reality a lot earlier. Of course, the next thing I would say is, I should have bought an Apple stock today.
Yeah, so I think in hindsight, we can go on and on and on about the things that we should.
Yeah, but I think most important is earlier I should have really done that. I should have really diversified and not immediately. Of course, diversifying always takes time, but I should have started the process a lot earlier. I wish I did. I'm glad that I did now, but better late than never. But I should have done it earlier.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So thank you so much for your time today and sharing all your experience with us. I think it's a very different angle and point of view that we have had today.
Buy Google Alphabet
now.
I feel like going back. Okay.
Buy Apple AAPL, strangle it. Buy options and strangle it. Options put plus $10. No, never mind.
Okay, so if you enjoy our show, do let us know by clicking the like button or leave a comment below.
So subscribe or hit the bell so that you will be notified the next time we have a new video up.
And join our Creatives at Work community on Facebook and Instagram.
And also don't forget to check out Sean's The Amateur Trader blog or tweet him at his handle SLWCHEONG. We'll put the handle down below. But until then,
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Sean.